thick of the playoff conversation. We're looking to build on it here. It doesn't count for playoff eligibility. It's outer division, but it still is a really, really good big game for the conference. Here we see two teams that like to run the ball a lot. You got Will Huggle and Jalen Brown on the Sacred Heart side. On the Classical side, you got Hayden Dickerson and Josh Southern has a broken hand. Will play defensive side of the ball, and Josh Austin. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams fight. Obviously, if you're Sacred Heart on your homecoming, you're looking for a big win. But Classical, you need a win to get some momentum, at least some, heading out into next season.
Southern playing with a broken wrist, but it's almost as if the Classical Knights, they don't have a broken spirit at this point. They're still fighting for at least a single win on the season after what they did last year under the leadership of seniors from your class like Cole Warren and
myself.
And yourself, obviously. What is it going to take for the Knights to get their first victory here at homecoming?
Well, it's gonna make all of them coming together, all of them doing their job, all of them doing exactly what the coaches are telling them to do. It's hard not to have Salstrom on offense, but following, it is contagious when a guy makes a sacrifice like that. He really reminds me of his brother a lot. That's something his brother would do, but Ben Salstrom. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out for him tonight. They're going to be running again a lot of new looks. I feel like I'm saying that every week now, but for them, they're just hoping they can find something that works against this tough Sacred Heart team.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights are hosting the Franklin Classical School Knights in the Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week.
John Masterson, ND,
right, we're going live.
All right, good luck.
James wishing us good luck on broadcast as the captains head to the middle of the field, and we'll get the word from our referee in just a few moments.
Mr. Don, I'll be your referee. Mr. Don, I'll be your referee tonight. Y'all step.
Getting a little bit of...
It is heads, national tails.
FCS wins the toss.
Yeah, White's won the toss. Elected to defer. You want the ball, don't you? Maroon. It's your opponent. Gentlemen, y'all step forward, shake hands, let's get ready to play.
So the Knights of Franklin won the coin toss, have elected to defer. So the Sacred Heart Knights will get the coin toss, will decide to receive for the start of their homecoming game.
And that's one of those funny moments you're glad the ref is mic'd up, because he sees that the Knights elected to defer. He turns right to Jalen Brown and says, "You want the ball, don't you?" Probably had a look in his face.
And we'll get a shot. We'll get a shot here. The Sacred Heart Knights about to come out of their banner on their homecoming night. The seniors just had their senior walk-ons a few moments ago. And the Knights, of course, led by Juan Gutierrez, Jalen Brown, and Eric Huang, as well as Miles Cox, their 4 seniors, leading this team in what they believe to be a playoff run and what all of us believe should be a playoff run, as we are still pending confirmation.
Hopefully. That's the key word, hopefully. I just love Cinderella success stories.
I think it's fair to say all of us love Cinderella success stories. Just the underdog stories. If only Loyola Chicago could have pulled it out last year.
You know.
He gives me a so I had a feeling you were going to go into some March Madness stuff. Who did you want to win March Madness?
Do you want my real answer?
Yes.
Vanderbilt. Of course.
And now for the national anthem.
Father Graham will lead us in prayer, followed by Ann Lovell with the national anthem.
Are you talking about baseball?
We pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we come before you to give you thanks and praise. This night we declare your Son, Jesus Christ, our sovereign Lord. And we ask you to bless all the athletes that are on the field tonight, to watch over them, guard them, and guide them. We thank you, Lord, for all the coaches and the staff and the volunteers that helped to make this game possible tonight. We ask you, Lord, to bless every single person here, draw us ever closer to your Sacred Heart, dear Jesus. Help us to be always your faithful disciples, and we know that every excellence, every goodness comes from you. And so we praise you, Lord, and we thank you. And I ask Almighty God to bless each of you in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous
So Spencer, before the national anthem, I was asking, did you mean basketball or?
Yeah, I was talking NCAA basketball.
Okay, I thought you were
Loyola
talking
Chicago.
baseball. No,
Baseball?
no, I was rooting for. Well, I didn't hear the. Okay.
Yeah.
I was rooting for Duke in basketball because I love Marvin Bagley.
Gotcha.
I don't love Duke. I just. Usually when Vanderbilt's out, MTSU's out, all the Tennessee teams are out, I'll root for players, and I really like Marvin Bagley, so I was rooting for Duke.
So the final score out in Swanee, Tennessee, the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights got it done against the St. Andrews Swanee Mountain Lions, 58-13.
Maybe I should stop calling upset predictions.
Lancaster gets another victory on the season. Their only loss thus far has been to the Webb School. And looking at the helmet schedule, Lancaster has got one more South game against Franklin Classical. They've got a bye week next week. Then they host Franklin Classical to finish their South record to potentially solidify that number 2 slot. And again, the Knights elected to defer, and away we go. In tonight's Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week, the Knights fall on it. An onside kick.
Recovered by number 55.
Let's just refer to them as Sacred Heart and FCS.
That'll make it much easier. Sacred.
I was thinking, wait a minute, FCS didn't jump on the ball.
Right.
Oh, you know.
So again, the interesting story of the night is that Joshua.
Again, not night. Don't do it.
The interesting story for Franklin Classical tonight, Joshua Sahlstrand is playing with a broken wrist. So they still have him in tonight's contest as they take the first offensive, as the Sacred Heart does a reversal pitch, attempted pass from behind the line of scrimmage. Almost picked it up, incomplete pass forward. An interesting attempt.
That would have been
there.
a filthy pick. I can't believe that was almost completed. But
didn't get the replay on that one.
Yeah, sure.
No, I said I didn't get the replay on
I
that
thought you said
one.
let's get. Okay.
Didn't start the replay buffer on that one.
You know what, Spencer?
I do have.
I'll give you a pass this time.
I do have a replay from the Knights from last week.
No, we won't go back to that one.
We're only focused on the present.
I had to wear that jersey. Isn't that enough shame for me?
Second down and 10 for Sacred Heart. Snap toss on the right, tipped up, incomplete. Intended pass on the right side. That was for number 9, Jake Wilson.
It's interesting because Sacred Heart really likes to give the ball up the middle to Hoggle and Brown, but it really seems like they're trying to do some trick plays, trying to run some screens. So this isn't an offense that we saw last time we were at Sacred Heart, but looks like they got Jalen in the game, and they'll probably look to go to him or Hoggle on this down.
They've had their own struggles this season at trying to keep their in-division record positive. They had that 2-point loss to the Tennessee Heat last week. Sacred Heart on third down, pitch in the backfield. Right side rush. It's number 33 weaving through. That's Jalen Brown for a first down. And an easy first down there for Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart is one of those teams that are very, very confident in their ability to run on third down. If you need yards, you give it to your speedy running back, Jalen Brown. Get him to the outside. A great block on the outside. That looks like Will Hoggle. Again, Jalen Brown and Will Hoggle. That's your third down mixture that has worked for him all season. Hugley. So, yeah. Will Hugley. I messed it up last week, too.
Yeah, we messed it up. It's Will Hugley. It's first and 10. Scrambles. Pass caught. Stop for a gain of about 7 yards.
Pass completed.
Looks like it went back to the replay there by accident. Will Hugley with the reception for second down and 5. Now, again, there's Joshua Sahlstrand in the game at the safety position. They're mostly playing him on defense due to that injured wrist. Rush up the middle. It's a push through by Jalen Brown.
Ball carrier.
Third down and 3.
It's just these running backs are just so multidimensional. They can all do it all practically. A lot of speed, a lot of strength for all the backs. So you see him give it to Jalen Brown up the middle. He's one of those guys that you can put him in any position and expect yards.
So 3rd down and 2. There's under center looking at the wrong route there. That was Jacob Hayes.
It looks like there's a fumble on the play.
Fumble on the play.
So fumble and 4th down. Sacred Heart still has it.
You know, one bright spot for the Knights this season has been their front line. Their secondary has had their share of trouble, but their front line has really held their own. In order for Sacred Heart to be able to have the success that they're planning on against this team, they're really going to need to get to the outside or air that ball out and challenge the secondary of the Knights.
Fourth down and 4, about on the 24-yard line. Pitched in the backfield. Jalen Brown, left side. Jalen Brown staying on his feet will get the first down. Gets inside the red zone at about the 15-yard line.
First down.
We get a replay on that one?
I think we did. It's a little bit on the outside.
There we go.
That's what we got.
Yeah, it looks like just arm tackling by the Knights, and then, of course, who other than Josh Salstrom with the broken wrist taking him down to the ground. Again, it really reminds me of Ben Salstrom a lot. I mean, he's probably going to be taller than him, too. He's a really tough guy, sophomore. Good tackle by him, but, again, great run by Jalen Brown to the outside. That's where he makes his money, on that outside.
1st and 10. Handoff up the middle. Stuffed by the Knights, by the Franklin Classical defense.
They're just going to keep pounding away. Again, they've taken 3 minutes off the clock, and they started at the 50. That's the pace that they like to play at. Of course, they can put points up on the board, but they'd rather get the game in the mud and say, you know what, we can score on every possession, but we're going to dictate the pace of this game.
Second down and 10. Sacred Heart in the red zone already on their first drive. Scramble to the right, pass on the right side. It is caught and into the end zone. Touchdown for Will Walker and the Sacred Heart Knights.
We got a replay on that. There's been a difficulty for the Knights all season exposing it. That secondary has had its share of issues. The rollout fakes out the defense and they suck in. Out to the outside. That read option, or excuse me, that play action pass works as planned.
So already the Knights get the first score.
Clarify.
The Sacred Heart Knights get the score on their first drive at homecoming.
I just don't want to confuse.
Of course not.
I can't really see the scoreboard.
2-point conversion attempt, pass inside, catch. 2-point conversion good.
You know, my eyesight isn't great either. I can't see the scoreboard usually when I'm looking at my phone. So
8-0 the score with 8:33 left to go in the first quarter. The Knights get a score up early for Sacred Heart's homecoming game. Where kick up. And ball is muffed by the Franklin Classical, but picked up. Rush on the left side. Carson McCann goes down on the left sideline at about the 47-yard line for a big return and a first down, the first offensive possession for Franklin Classical. And let's hand it to James Shannon for our first scoring updates of the night.
Franklin Classical.
Hey boys, I'm up here watching a massive showdown between Bowling Green Christian, Lighthouse Christian, Big MTAC North matchup. Still in the first quarter, Christian Community leads South Haven 6-0. Riverside Christian just took the lead 6-0 over Franklin Christian.
All right, thank you, James.
A lot of good games going on this evening.
A lot of good games indeed. Here's Franklin Classical on their first offensive play. It's a rush up the middle. Gain of about 4 yards on the play. That's a rush for 22, who other than Caden Dickerson for Franklin Classical.
Yeah, he's Mr. Reliable, especially now with Salstrom out. He's going to be getting the majority of the touches. I also see a lot more of Carson McCann tonight. He's probably going to touch the ball quite a few times, speedy back. So they got some new systems to run, but same old smash mouth football that they're used to running.
Second down and looks like about 6. Handoff ball is loose. It was attempted possession there by Carson McCann. And is it picked up? It's the other way. Sacred Heart gets it.
We got a replay on that?
Oh, yes, we do.
Recovery made by number 55, Miller Boyd.
Looks like the quarterback takes it and just puts it out a little bit too far across the chest. When you're a running back, you need to put one hand up and one hand under and tuck that ball in. It shouldn't be you shouldn't be first nature to grab the ball with one hand and just go for it. You have to secure the ball and then tuck it and cut up field.
So that's a fumble recovery for Sacred Heart. Ball recovered in Classical territory.
Once again, starting with excellent field position.
Here's the I formation. Rolls out to his right. Pass on the right side. Good catch made by Will Walker.
Will Walker for a nice first down.
Just a nice roll out to the right, and Sacred Heart gets the completion.
Once again, great pass and finding none other than Will Walker on the outside. Such a speedy freshman going up and getting that ball for a huge gain.
First down and 10 on the 30-yard line. Pitch in the backfield. Jake Wilson. Jake Wilson on the left side. Gets pushed back forward. Progress will be spotted at about the 23, 24-yard line for second down and 5.
I would imagine Josh Salstrom's in a lot of pain right now.
Especially having to use his right hand so much. You know, we talked a little bit pregame with some of the coaches and players for Franklin Classical and asking, we asked Salstrom, how is it that you're going to, if you have to make an interception, how are you going to do that on the right side? He's like, I don't know. We'll see. That was just the answer he had for any of the questions we asked him in relation to his right arm. Our first penalty of the game as a rush up the middle is stopped at about the line of scrimmage for Jake Wilson, and we'll get our first penalty here from our referee.
Holding against the offense.
The call is holding Sacred Heart.
10-yard penalty on the foul. Play second down.
So a holding on the offense. They bring it back for about second down and 14.
You know, I feel like the FCS Knights are swarming really well in this game, but the issue is that they're not completely wrapping up. They're what coaches refer to as arm tackling, just putting their arms around the player and then letting them slip off from their grip. And that's allowing the big backs from Sacred Heart to run all over them.
Here's second down and 14. Rush on the left side, trying to get his number from the distance. It looks like that's Jalen Brown pushing.
Jalen Brown on the carry.
And stays on his feet. There is a flag.
There's a flag on the play.
Looks like a block in the back is what we saw from up there potentially. We'll get the call in just a moment. It looks like it's actually a holding call, maybe what the official is signaling.
That's a late holding call.
Personal foul against the defense.
Oh, the dead ball personal foul against the defense.
So a personal foul against the defense. We did get a replay on that one. So there's the rush by Jalen Brown. And
let's see if
says they don't call.
Oh, he jumped on top there, but okay. I don't know. You can't hear the whistle in the replay, of course, so we don't really know for sure. But we'll take the ref's word for it.
We'll see what they got here. Rush on the left, Jalen Brown again. Jalen Brown into the end zone. Touchdown, Sacred Heart.
Jalen Brown taking this game over early. Finds the outside. Again, a huge weakness for the Knights has been that outside containment. Exposes it once again for the touchdown.
Just left side, not even touched going into the end zone.
See, when the defensive end did his job, it doesn't look like it, but the defensive end did his job. He contained the outside. Even though he got blocked to the ground, forced the guy to have to cut up the field, but the linebacker was nowhere to be found. In that instance, you give up 2 or 3 yards, but that linebacker has to be there to stop that touchdown. But great hard run by Jalen Brown once again to get them another score.
2-point conversion attempt. It's Jalen Brown with a direct snap, short of the end zone. Waiting for an official signal here. And
2-point conversion is no good.
it is short. 14-0 with 6:16 left to go in the first quarter. The Sacred Heart Knights lead over the Franklin Classical Knights. All right, here we go.
Kickoff by Jacob Hayes.
Kickoff here for the Knights. That's a rush again. That's Carson McCann getting the big returns. Gets to about the 48-yard line in Sacred Heart territory.
Man, is he quick. Why hasn't he been receiving the kicks this whole season?
Jacob Hayes. It'll be 1st and 10, Franklin.
The 1st and 10 for Franklin Classical on about the 48-yard line in Sacred Heart territory. So the Knights starting out with some decent field advantage here, but we'll see if they can prevent another turnover from occurring.
It's unfortunate, and sadly, it's what's been happening for the Knights this whole season. They defer so that their defense can set the tone. They give up a touchdown and give up a freak fumble and another touchdown. So now they're off to a 2-touchdown deficit without barely allowing anything.
1st and 10. Pass up the middle, incomplete, intended for Ethan Keller. 2nd down and 10.
Intended for Ethan Keller, incomplete.
He had the space, but the pass was just slightly overthrown.
It's a little bit overthrown intended there for the sophomore Ethan Keller.
This Sacred Heart defense is looking strong once again.
Here's 2nd down and 10. Faked handoff. Here's a rush by Samuel Hubbard up the middle. Gets to about the 34-yard line. 3rd down and 6. It looks like
you don't see a Sam Hubbard called run. You don't see a designed run by Samuel Hubbard very often, but gets them 4 yards on the play.
You get a good amount of distance on that one.
Again, I'm really impressed by this Sacred Heart defense once again. Every time we see them, they're clogging up holes or getting stops. This is just a gritty bunch.
Here's Hubbard looking for the pass. Right side, complete to his tight end, Josh Austin. Pushing through, he's got the forward progress for the 1st down.
Yeah, finds the All-American on the slant route from the tight end. Gets them barely the 1st down, and it's going to be a 1st down inside the 40-yard line for the Knights.
For a 1st down.
It's moments like this you're a proud older brother.
Well, yeah, he's an All-American now.
That's right. That's right. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the season, but he is an All-American at this point. 1st down and 10. Classical goes down the field. Lost ball again. Sacred Heart recovers it. Carson McCann can't keep possession.
Will Kale.
He needs to clinch the ball. Again, he's coming with his hands. He's not coming with his arms. The ball needs to be clamped. Oh, that's the play before.
I tried to get the replay on that one. It wouldn't let me, but
no worries.
He just didn't get the grip on that one.
He's just not clamping down on the ball.
So another turnover, and Sacred Heart takes over again. We may be seeing this game over sooner than later.
Well, yeah, at the pace it's going now, but I mean, I'm sure Coach Dubs is elaborating to his players to hold on to that ball and how to grab the ball and get possession of it.
That's another direct snap. It looks like to Jalen Brown. Gets a rush of about 2 yards for 2nd down and 8.
Jalen Brown with the carry, gain of 2 yards. It'll be 2nd and 8.
So 2nd down and 8 after that 2-yard rush by Jalen Brown on the direct snap. One of the 4 seniors leading Sacred Heart into their homecoming night here in Jackson. As it's handed off. That's Jalen Brown handed it off to one of his teammates. It's Will Hugley on the left side. Will Hugley to the 29-yard line.
I think that was 7 arm tackles by the Knights.
Just look at this. We got a
flag on the field. But look, again, so maybe it was 7 arm tackles by the Knights.
It's on there. Face mask. Defense, 5-yard penalty.
Call his face mask against Franklin Classical.
So it's a face mask on the defense. They added that to the end of the run.
I don't think they're supposed to add it to the end of the run.
At least that's what I heard from the official there, was the adding to the end of the run.
Maybe if it happened, if it was on the tackle, that's probably the case.
Yeah, I think we can't see it from our camera angle here, but it looked like it may have been a face mask. Is how he got tackled down.
That was definitely it.
Regardless, 1st and 10 on the 25. Pitch to Jalen Brown, left side. Jalen Brown weaves through for about a 7-yard gain for 2nd down and 3.
I feel like Jalen Brown is the DeMarco Murray of the MTAC. Super reliable. You can give it to him 20 to 25 times a game and expect production. This kid is a phenomenal athlete, and he's pushing this young team along, and they're playing great.
Representative of a young DeMarco Murray before he got injured last season.
Well, I'm talking Cowboys DeMarco Murray.
Exactly, yes.
Let's hope he never becomes Eagles DeMarco Murray.
Exactly. Maybe Titans DeMarco Murray in his first season. 2nd down and 4. Pitch on the right side, overthrown, intended for Will Keel.
For some reason, that right side for the Knights has really been giving up a lot of space to the receivers. But, I mean, Will Keel and these freshman receivers are doing a lot to get open right now. They are very, very, very quick receivers along with the backs. This whole team, a team of youth. And a lot of people will look at that and say, you know what? A team that doesn't have a lot of youth doesn't know how to win. This team knows how to win, and they're quick. So it's really interesting to see this team. This is a Cinderella story. Whether they go to postseason or not, this is a Cinderella story, the season that they put together so far.
3rd down and 4. Pitch on the right side. That's Jake Wilson on the right. Gets tripped up by 9 on the other side of the field. Carson McCann for a 3rd down and about 1, unless they spot it for a 1st down here. Just waiting to get that, and they rule it a 1st down.
Sacred Heart has really benefited from this amazing field position that the Knights have been giving them. They can really just pound it down their throats, because now they're in the red zone, and it seems like we just blinked and they were at the 50, or the Knights have the ball even.
It's just the what?
I'm going with FCS and Sacred Heart now. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just force of habit.
That's the kind of
it's confusing
that Will Hugley can bring you, as it's ball direct snap to Jalen Brown again. Right side, Jalen Brown forced out of bounds. Looks like at about the 10-yard line, for inside the 10 for 1st down and goal. Or excuse me, 2nd down and 4.
Gameplay.
Jalen Brown on the direct snap there. So 2nd and 4 for Sacred Heart.
Yeah, and again, I don't see anything different than the 3rd score on the board right here. They just have too much strength and so much momentum, and this Knights offense is not putting up any slack. If the Knights want to keep this safe, this game in reach, they're going to have to score on this next possession.
Here's a rush attempt by Will Hugley in the backfield, tripped up as the clock runs for 2nd down, and excuse me, they're marking it a 3rd down, and it looks like 7.
It's a big play for both teams. I know we're in the 1st quarter, but a game like this where teams want to control momentum, only 2 or 3 passes thrown the entire game, and we got a timeout on the field.
Timeout.
Timeout called by the Franklin Classical School Knights with looks like about 2:07 left to go in the 1st quarter. The Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week is brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. TennesseeHighSchoolFootball.com, Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising. So 2:07 left to go in the 1st. Got an announcement from the referee.
Encroachment on the defense.
Offsides.
Half distance to the goal.
So encroachment on the defense. They move it up 5 yards.
At any point in the game after a timeout, that kind of penalty is inexcusable. That kind of penalty is inexcusable, especially after a timeout. You should know what's coming if you're the defense.
The ball snapped on 3rd down and 3. Jalen Brown on the direct snap again. Jalen Brown will get the 1st down.
As funny as this sounds, we might get a score in the 2nd quarter for Sacred Heart because they're really running the ball down the field. But great run to the outside, just outruns the defensive end. Right straight to the outside, just enough for the 1st down, and we have an injury on the field. Hopefully it's not Jalen Brown.
Trying to see who the player is injured. It looks like it's a Classical player. Seeing the white jersey from here. Can't directly see who it is, but 2 minutes left in the 1st. We'll step aside for an injury timeout. Ethan Keller is the player down for the Knights. He's being looked at on the sideline. They're just about finishing the injury timeout. And we'll head to James Shannon for our next scoring update.
Hey, boys. John Buchanan has answered Jake Rubelski with a touchdown run of his own. We're tied at 6 in Franklin. Here in Bowling Green, the Warriors knocking on the door. It's 8-6 Lighthouse, and it's getting ugly in Cheatham County. Christian Community 20, South Haven Christian nothing.
Thank you, James.
The preseason predictions are really playing out for James.
Yeah, they're really playing out for him.
Respect for keeping them, but I'm just not going to say something like that on air.
Yeah.
Well, then again, I said the Swanee was going to win.
Yeah.
And they lost by over 40.
Mm-hmm. They lost an important South game. So 1st and goal on the 5-yard line. The Knights look like they're going to get another score here. Knights of Sacred Heart. I formation. Ball loose and ended up. That's the first muff grip we've seen by Sacred Heart tonight, but they managed to recover their own fumble.
And that's uncharacteristic of Sacred Heart, period. They're not a team that really coughs the ball up a lot. Their style of offense, they just want to run it down their throat, their defender's throat, and they play a really, really disciplined football on both sides of the ball.
Just having a brief slip up there on 2nd and goal.
Again, as crazy as it sounds, we might see a score in the second quarter, even though it's 2nd and goal, because of just how melodic this offense runs.
2nd and goal on the 7-yard line. Here's Jake Keel, the man to his left. Looking for the pass. There is a flag thrown. Jake Keel tries to take it up the middle, gets a gain of about a few yards on the play, but let's check the flag.
Jake Keel. There's a flag on the play. False start, Sacred Heart.
5-yard penalty, replay, 2nd down.
So false start on Sacred Heart.
Now, Spencer, if I'm not mistaken, that should have been a dead ball penalty.
I believe he gave a symbol for dead ball there, but they called it.
Well, the play doesn't continue to roll.
I guess they let it roll there. Referees didn't blow the play dead.
I mean, what happens if the defense gets an interception?
Exactly. Second down and goal on the 12-yard line. Clock winding down. Jake Keel rolls to his left, avoids the tackle, trying to avoid the second one. He'll be brought down for a sack.
Sack on the play.
Really like the play call, though. The classical defense covered it right, but within that play, you see something in the defense is why you called this play. You see quarterback here rolls out to the left side. He fakes the handoff, and now he's playing with Huggle. He's trying to see if the cornerback will go and pursue him or go after Huggle. In that possession, the linebacker and the corner came over and made it so that he couldn't run or pass, but you don't see that often a lot. So that was a great play call by Sacred Heart.
14, Franklin Classical.
That's the end of the first quarter. 14-0. Sacred Heart leads over Franklin Classical on their homecoming night. The Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week is brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. TennesseeHighSchoolFootball.com, Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising. Started the second quarter from FMY Field in Jackson, Tennessee. Spencer Thompson, Isaiah Austin on call for 8-Man Extreme. Proud to be here in Jackson, home of the Pringles factory. There's a time on the field.
3rd and goal.
And Jalen Brown's in
Sacred Heart.
Franklin Classic. Timeout. Timeout.
You have a timeout call.
White.
There's a timeout called by Franklin Classical on that one.
Guess Coach Witherington saw something he didn't like in the backfield. Probably Jalen Brown.
Yeah, we'll hand it to James Shannon for some scoring updates as this unexpected timeout occurred at the start of the second.
Hey, boys. John Trahan, 75-yard run. He's put Riverside up 14-6. Christian Community continues to roll with a 57-yard touchdown pass from Nathaniel Rowley to Micah Jones. It's 26-0 Colts.
All right, thank you, James. That game out in I don't think it's in Springfield anymore, where they play their home games. I think the city address that was given was one of the suburbs of it, or one of the smaller towns around. But South Haven hosting that game down 26-0 as Christian Community keeps their hopes of the #1 seed alive in the playoffs.
They're number one seed nationally now.
Yes,
as of this week.
As of this week, they are. As Sacred Heart rolls out, pass left side, overthrown, intended for Will Keel. Leads to 4th and goal, and there's an injured Sacred Heart player on the field.
I'm trying to get the number. Can you see that? 77, it looks like.
That's Miles Cox, a senior.
That's the senior.
Senior injured on the play.
Yeah, that's the senior center, if I'm not incorrect. He's a big piece for him.
He's got that injury on the play there, so
we get a replay and see what happened to him?
I don't think we got a replay on that one. I think the only replay that was on there,
he's up and moving. He's up and moving.
Yep. Miles Cox still moving up and walking.
When you see an injury early in a game like this late in the season, you know it's not cramping. So it's always scary to see a guy down at this point in the season. But glad he's up and moving. Hope to see him back in this ball game.
Sure we'll see Miles Cox in at some point. Probably just a little bit shooken up on homecoming night. So they're going to run the clock.
Yeah, I can't explain to you how the joy of playing on homecoming night with all the fans out there. There's just nothing like it.
Here's 4th down and goal on the 12-yard line. Pitch in the backfield to Jalen Brown. Going on the right side, he'll be stopped at about the 9-yard line, just shy of the end zone.
Number 3, Jalen Brown.
And turnover on downs. Classical takes over. And Will Keel already back, Miles Cox already back in the game for Sacred Heart.
Yeah, that's good to see.
Just a little bit shaken up on that play, and he's back in the action.
That's something we haven't seen much from the Knights, though. FCS.
Clarify.
Getting a good stop and getting a good stop in the red zone. And it's for a team that's having trouble finding even possessions that work for them here and there. It's really, really, really moralizing. It makes them feel good to be able to get a stop like that, to add something to their dimension. So good play, good stop by the Knights on that possession.
First down for Classical on their own 10-yard line. There's a flag on the field. There's a rush up the middle, big rush by Caden Dickerson. And let's check the flag, see what we got here. See what the official gives us. Waiting for a ruling here.
Down, but there are flags on the play.
Stopping the clock. False start called on the offense.
They need to blow these plays dead when it's a false start, or you're putting players in harm's way.
Yeah, they're not going by the rule interpretation. They're not going by the rule interpretation as we know it, which would be anytime there's a false start.
Oh, I know it.
Ball. I'm sure you know it from all your years of playing football. I'm sure a lot of.
I've probably been a part of 150 false starts, if not more, especially at FCS. we did so many false starts.
That's a lot of false starts. Rush up the middle. Samuel Hubbard is stuffed at the line of scrimmage for a second down and 15. There's another injury
on the play.
And Samuel Hubbard is down on the field. Like we got another injury. Unfortunately, 3 injuries tonight already in this game.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. We saw Miles Cox go out with an injury a couple plays ago, and he's the one who hits quarterback Samuel Hubbard and has him down. It's just been a weird game so far.
So they'll take a look at Samuel Hubbard, make sure he's okay. We'll step aside. Exactly. So we've got, so fortunately Samuel Hubbard has been taken to the sideline and he will be examined. Samuel Hubbard being extremely looked at. We got
another injury for the for FCS.
2 injuries
Unbelievable.
already.
They're down to 12 or 13 guys left. I mean, some guys aren't even traveling with the team with concussions. Apparently, their center just found out he has a torn MCL. Oh. They got some rough things happening. But let's see who they put at quarterback. This is going to be really interesting.
So we'll see who their quarterback is. So they're down to their 3rd string quarterback, and who's it going to be?
Caden Dickerson.
It's Caden Dickerson is who they put in at the quarterback position. There's time called on the field. Timeout called by Classical.
I have never witnessed this before, but if I was going to witness it from one coach, it's Seth Witherington.
He's calling 2 timeouts early. 11:27 left to go in the second quarter. 14-0. Sacred Heart leads over Franklin Classical. The Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week is brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Tennessee High School Football.com. Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising. Ball handed off. Caden Dickerson going on the left side. Caden Dickerson staying on his feet, brought down. Gain of about 3 yards on the play for 3rd down, and make that a gain of about 6.
Yeah, he made a decent play out of nothing there. He cut it back upfield and got to the other side of the field for a gain of about 6 yards on the play. Didn't get the first part of that play. Sorry, Spencer.
Yeah, that's what happens when just trying to get the amount of yards gained. They didn't see the down marker, the line of scrimmage marker actually move there. It was a 6-yard gain. So 3rd down and 9 for Classical. Here's Saulstrand. Ball, he has to fall on, and it's loose. And it's a recovery. Is that a safety?
I think it's going to be a touchdown, or
it was ordered recovered by Sacred Heart.
Even worse, Sacred Heart. Even worse for the Knights. The Sacred Heart recovers at the 2.
It's 1st and goal on the 2.
So essentially, you're just where you were a minute ago. Essentially,
I could have gotten I should have gotten the replay on that one, but just too much.
Yeah,
that
it looks
went
like
on
the snap went to the top right. Dickerson, not used to catching those snaps, hasn't played quarterback this year. Fumbles it. Worst possible situation. Recovered at the 2-yard line, and now they're right back where they were 2 minutes ago, practically.
So 1st and goal on the 2-yard line for Sacred Heart. Pitched in the backfield. Flag thrown. It looked like it was a touchdown.
They gave the signal for the touchdown, if that's the case.
We'll see what we got on the field. They gave a touchdown signal, but it may be an offensive penalty. We'll see what we've got here.
We got personal foul against the offense. 15 yards for the foul.
So personal foul against the offense.
That is a tough penalty.
Didn't get any specifics on there and didn't see who it was, but called against Sacred Heart, and they move it back for 1st and goal on about the 15, make that the 17-yard line.
And again, that is the penalty that coaches hate the most. Again, you see a guy go out because of that penalty. Coaches can handle one hold or one block in the back or one clip or anything like that. But when it comes to personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conducts, that's not going to slide, especially from a Christian school. But again, it happens. You're in the heat of the moment. I know as a player I jawed at people. I did unsportsmanlike things. But as a coach, you can't stand for that, and that's important.
Sure that Coach Judd Powers and Chuck Walker will look into that going into their game next week, as it's a pass on the left side. Catch is made. Cut inside. Touchdown. Sacred Heart and Will Walker with the touchdown.
This outside secondary for the Knights is continuously being exposed. As we see out here, fakes the handoff, rolls out, hits the guy. My hand hits the tripod, and a touchdown.
That's great play-by-play calling there, Isaiah. Straightforward. Hits the tripod, touchdown. So another 6 points on the board for Sacred Heart, just adding to their lead. 2-point conversion attempt. Pitch in the backfield. Jake Wilson into the end zone. 2-point conversion is good. 9:56 left to go. It's 22-0. The Sacred Heart Knights lead over the Franklin Classical Knights here in Jackson. All right, here we go.
Kickoff by Jacob Hayes.
So kickoff muffed by Carson McCann as he stays on his feet. Rush on the right. Gets inside. Get the replay on that one because we had a nice block at the end.
Rushed by number 9, Carson McCain.
It was the 9:45, but that was a nice block at the end there.
Yeah, and a good hit by Carson McCann to get those 2 extra yards there. We see him go to the outside, and fullback Josh Austin goes over, finds a man, sends him to the ground, frees up about 10 more yards, and Carson McCann fighting for that extra yard. That's what you like to see from a return man. A lot of return men like to finesse it and run around the field and zigzag. He's running bullheaded into the defense and getting 20 or 30 yards every return.
So Classical looking to get their first score on the board. Ball starts on the 49-yard line in their own territory. Here's handed off to McCann. McCann up the middle. Carson McCann trying to stay free, but he's going to be brought down by Jalen Brown. First down and 10 on the 35.
Now, whatever this fumbling handoff issue was going on, it looks like the Knights have fixed it. The snap is good. Hands it off to the speedy back, Carson McCann. You know, with Southstern out, McCann's getting the start now. Great 15-yard run by the speedy back, and that's a first down for the Knights. Great field position, best field position of the game, and they're going to look to get to work heading into the red zone.
He could have easily been gone had he not been tripped up on his feet.
Yeah, and that's a testament to Sacred Heart's defense because that was a great run play, but stopped by this gritty defense. You know, sometimes you'll get a yardage, but they stopped a touchdown on that play.
Rush by Dickerson in the middle, flag thrown, gets just shy of the line of scrimmage, a loss of a yard.
You expect to see a holding penalty on a play like this.
22, Caden Dickerson for no gain. There is a flag on the play.
We've got a personal foul, face mask against the defense.
Flag is a personal foul, face mask.
15 yards from the end of the run. Down.
You know what, Spencer? I actually got a penalty wrong this time.
Thought it was.
Sorry to our viewers.
You got a little bit close on there.
Well,
close.
I just didn't see the face mask. I didn't see it. I mean, I'm looking through a camera screen here.
Yeah, so they add it to the end of the run. It goes to about the 16-yard line, so the Classical Knights are in the red zone.
A quick drive put together by the Knights here. They can regain some sort of momentum and get back into this ball game with a score here.
First and 10. Ball snap, Dickerson stays on his feet, scrambling, looking for the pass. He'll be brought down by 3 different players for a sack.
You have to give your quarterback more time to get that ball off. He just got swarmed at the defense, and for a small guy like Dickerson, it's hard for him to see over those defenders and get free. Again, the snap's not very good. The linemen are looking to compensate. That was just inexcusable for a line that's been doing a decent job this game, just getting absolutely blown up by the Sacred Heart defense. That puts them in a tough spot. That was a 12-yard sack.
So 2nd down and it's like about 22. Low snap again, handed off to McCann. McCann on the right side. Staying on his feet, McCann.
Another poor snap resulting in a delayed play. By the time that ball's in the quarterback's hand, the defense is halfway through that line. Doesn't have enough time. The snap is too slow, too wobbly, and too low. That puts the Knights in a difficult situation right when we thought they were regaining some momentum.
It's 3rd down.
FCS, excuse me. Obviously, Sacred Heart in this game has had all the momentum.
Ball is on the 26-yard line. About 3rd down and 19. Dickerson, left side, gets brought down in the backfield. 4th down and more than 15.
Number 11, Will Walker.
And we see the Knights sideline excitement go to frowns in a matter of minutes. A great drive, a face mask penalty that brings them within the red zone, just backs them up and puts them in a really, really, really tough position here.
It's 4th down at about the 20, looks like about the 29-yard line. Here's toss by Dickerson, incomplete pass intended for Austin. Couldn't pull it in, and it's turned over on downs for Sacred Heart gets the ball. Turnover on downs, and you're right about the complete sideline change.
Yeah, I mean, you had so much momentum, but again, FCS has just had trouble capitalizing with their young core.
We have timeout.
Sacred Heart calls a timeout with 6:41 left to go in the 2nd quarter. The Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week is brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. TennesseeHighSchoolFootball.com, Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising.
Updates.
Here we go. So timeout over for Sacred Heart on 1st and 10. Switching out some players here and whistle blown, delay of game.
Timeout.
Or they called another timeout for Sacred Heart here. They just had some confusion on the Sacred Heart had some confusion on their sideline there.
Yeah, and out of a timeout, that has to be really, really annoying for Coach Powers. Just getting out of the timeout and having 7 men on the field. Again, these mistakes, they're not going to hold up in 3 weeks when it's time for the playoffs.
This is a perfect time to head to James Shannon for our latest scoring updates.
All right, boys, up here at Bowling Green, Lighthouse Christian has taken a 24-14 lead. 37 seconds left before the half. Riverside is trying to get a drive going. Down in Franklin, John Buchanan has made it a 22-14 game. Riverside still leads. Christian Community just got a safety against South Haven. It's 36-0.
All right, thank you, James. We're told by the guys at Franklin Christian last week that it's their homecoming night as well. We've got at least 2 teams who are on their homecoming in tonight's MTAC action. As the catch is made, Will Walker with the reception, staying on his feet. Takes a lot of men to bring him down.
I mean, he's just finding Will Walker wide open. I don't know if it's bad coverage or just the fact that Will Walker is so speedy on the outside. It seems like he's finding him in the exact same place every time. He just completely slips the defense, and there's nobody for 10 yards on the play. Arm tackle, arm tackle, arm tackle. Finally brought down by Dickerson.
Took them a long time, and they finally managed to get him down.
It's just undisciplined arm tackles, and it's what you learn to expect from a young team like Classical.
Sacred Heart marching down the field, trying to get closer to that mercy rule point differential. 13 points down from that. Hopefully the Knights can get a score here to prevent that from happening. Pitch to Jake Wilson on the outside. Wilson, staying on his feet, is going to be brought down by his jersey in the backfield. Big move by Josh Austin on there.
Yeah, and they really needed a stop of yardage there. Brings him back 3 yards. A quick back. He's a freshman, if I'm not mistaken.
That's Jake Wilson. Yep, freshman.
Yeah, freshman. A lot of freshmen on this team. But, finally Classical gets a stop. And Sacred, if you're Classical, you're trying to get this ball back before the half ends because you got a clock run with 5:38 left to go in the half. And if you're Sacred Heart, you're trying to put another one on the board before the Classical returns it in the second half.
2nd down and 14 for Sacred Heart. Pitch in the backfield. Mr. Jalen Brown. Welcome to homecoming. Touchdown, Sacred Heart.
Let's get a replay on that one. That run was instantaneous. He hit the hole and Classical players were nowhere to be found. That has to be the linebacker there. We see the defensive end from the other side almost coming to make that tackle. But it's not the responsibility of that. You have to see that corner and linebacker be there to contain. And then we see arm tackles again by the Knights. That is killing them this season. But again, great run by Jalen Brown. He hit the hole immediately, saw it was open. We blinked, and he's in the end zone.
On a 2nd down and 14, looked like about a 60-yard rushing touchdown for Jalen Brown.
Definitely solidifying himself as a candidate for Player of the Week.
A lot of players solidifying themselves as candidates for Player of the Week in this week's MTAC action, especially with it being crucial for postseason eligibility. And the 2-point conversion is good.
2-point conversion by number 44, Will Hugley.
And Will Hugley gets in. It's 32-0 with 5:03 left to go in the second quarter. The Knights are 5 away from enacting the mercy rule. Here we go. So, kick in the backfield picked up by McCann. McCann has been able to get good kickoff returns thus far, weaving through the defense. Brought down, stop made by Jake Wilson.
You know, the Knights really want to end this endless cycle of drives. It starts with a great return by McCann, gets some great field position at the 50 or better. They start to drive, and then something happens. They need to break that curse on this drive if there's going to be any chance of not enacting the mercy rule in this game. They have a chance to score here in the opponent territory, and then they get the ball back in the second half. If you score here, you're looking at narrowing this deficit. But again, this Sacred Heart defense has been strong all season long, and they're going to be tough with the offense that you've been running so far.
First down and 10 on the 33-yard line. Ball handed off to McCann. McCann loses it.
Fumble on the play.
And did that get picked up by the Knights of Sacred Heart? It did.
That's the Knights' fourth fumble on the night.
Sacred Heart. First down.
And that's their third fumble on handoffs.
And we did get a replay on that one. Just no breaks caught for the Franklin Classical Knights.
No, and it seems like the running back, quarterback, there is so much miscommunication back there. The running back has to put one hand over the other, the hand that they're leading with, and take it. It's not a I know when we're playing Little League, and I'm sure when you were playing in the street, when you got a handoff, you grab the ball with your hands, right? But that's not how you do it. If you're in a position where somebody could come and hit you immediately, you have to be confident. You have to go get that ball, tuck it, hit the hole, and then switch it to one hand. It is as awkward as it seems. That is crucial to holding on to that football.
Timeout on the field.
So timeout called before the play resumed. The officials having a conversation. So it's an official timeout. Waiting for something to be situated. I think there was a player not able to get on the field or something going along those lines. Not quite sure what's going on here. I guess they had to get some player eligibilities out. .436 left to go before halftime. Sacred Heart trying to get the mercy rule enacted so they can call it a night. All handed off. Hubbard, deep toss on the right side to Hubbard. It is caught. Jalen Brown on the right side. Jalen Brown. Touchdown, Sacred Heart.
This is probably something I shouldn't say on air, but I just whispered in Spencer's ear, watch, they're going to score on this possession. All-American middle linebacker Josh Austin leaves the game, and what happens? A 70-yard touchdown pass for a touchdown. This Knights defense, somebody has to step up on this second unit, and they have to figure something out that they're going to be able to stop this mercy rule and have some respect leaving this ball game.
Jalen Brown, another big candidate for Extreme Player of the Week.
Was that him?
That was Jalen Brown on the reception.
So multi-dimensional. They can put him at slot. They can put him at running back. They can do what? Oh, wait a minute. Did he start 10 yards offsides? How did he get there that quick?
He just has the speed apparently. He just has good speed on him.
You can tell he's a basketball player. That kid can cut quickly.
The 2-point conversion attempt here, run up the middle. It's good. Will Hugley. For the 30. That's 38-0. The mercy rule will be enacted, and Sacred Heart has a dominant lead at homecoming.
Sacred Heart 38.
All right, here we go. So kickoff here. And again, Carson McCann on the return. This time stuffed at about the 44-yard line.
And again, another great return, but the Knights are hoping to stop this endless cycle of great returns, great field position, and then coughing up the football. 4 fumbles this game, if I'm not mistaken, 3 lost and 1 lost at the 2-yard line. That is inexcusable for an offense that's in week 8 of this season.
All right, James, you got another bunch of scoring updates for us. It's a tense all around MTAC right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy right now. At halftime, Riverside leads Franklin Christian 22-14. Here in Bowling Green, we're at the half. John Stock scored a touchdown as time expired in the first half, so it's 32-20. And of course, Christian Community still leads South Haven 36-0.
All right, thank you, James. It was a rush by Caden Dickerson on the right side to about the 47-yard line in Sacred Heart territory.
I just realized something.
What's that?
You know my score prediction for the CCS game on Sunday? 72-0. It's halftime and we're halfway there. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, you're making a decent prediction on that one.
Certainly not the game earlier today.
What was your score prediction for this game?
My score prediction for this game was it was something like 34-30 or something.
Oh, you thought it was going to be closer.
I mean, you really can't anticipate a blowout like this. It's hard to anticipate. You never know when it's going to happen. Yeah, except when CCS plays the bottom team in the north in the north. South or north. North. I've forgotten what division they're in because they're so
Sacred
far
Hearts
behind.
North. Classical is South.
You see an 0-4 team playing a 6-0 number 1 team. It's different.
Right.
But in a game like this with 2 teams very mysterious, you just don't know.
So there's Dickerson brought down.
Sack by
Defenders bringing him down.
Hugley.
Hugley with a big sack. 4th down and 10.
You know, this is giving me really bad memories to my junior year. I tore both of my labrums. I was headed in here to watch my team play, hopefully pull out a big victory against the hottest team in the MTAC. And I remember going over there for halftime, looking up at the scoreboard with a 62-0 deficit, and saying, "We're still in this, boys." I can tell you, Spencer.
Halftime, dang. It's Caden Dickerson. It's brought down in the backfield.
And I can tell you, Spencer, we only gave up 3 touchdowns in that second half.
3 touchdowns.
We gave up 62 points in the first, only 3 touchdowns in the second.
Did you get any scores on that one?
No, it was 80-0. 80-0.
I mean, not the highest scoring game in MTAC, but one of the highest scoring.
Probably the biggest blowout in MTAC.
One of the biggest.
The point deficit. Mm-hmm. And again, we were 4-5. They were just so good.
Yeah, Sacred Heart managed to have dominance that game until they had good skills in that game until they were. But they had their MTAC championship stripped from them, but all in the past, of course. And they were
still a really tough team to play against, and they always, whenever they're in the MTAC, they are always a tough team. I don't know what it is, but it's the culture around here. They're always, when you come to play Sacred Heart at Sacred Heart, you gotta trek in front of you.
And of course, Coach Judd Powers has led the team back into MTAC this season. And we talked to him before game because there is still up in the air whether or not they're postseason eligible. But Coach Powers told us before the game, kids are going to be playing as if they are postseason.
Yeah,
eligible.
And I say a prayer every night before bed that they're postseason eligible because they could shake up this tough team. Not to say that it's definite that they will, but they're the type of team that can really shake something up. They can really bust your bracket, and they have for us this year. They've come in and really surprised a lot of people this year.
Shocking a good amount of people on 2nd down and 8. Rush on the right side. Jalen Brown. Austin brings him down.
It's hard to tackle Jalen unless you're hanging on by a shoe thread. You got to be realistic. You got to be
on by a jersey thread.
I mean, it's like, what is it equivalent to? It's like pulling a No, that's not a good example. That would have been way too complex, and no one would have understood what I was saying. I was going to say like a rock on top of a building while you're standing at the bottom of it, just pulling it across the surface.
We know one special person who would understand what you're saying no matter what. We know at least one person in the world.
God.
Okay, sorry, make that 2 because I was thinking of someone else. Toss to the left side. Incomplete pass intended for Will Walker.
Pass intended to number 11, Will Walker.
And they stopped the. I guess they stopped the clock. I guess they're not letting the mercy rule run at this point.
I think they're probably stopping it so that they have an opportunity to score here. But for a team that's up 38-0, I don't know if that's necessarily right.
Who knows? I mean, every team has their methods. It might just be that this mercy rule isn't enacted until after halftime.
If I was a coach and my team was down by 35, I would say do not turn on the mercy rule. I don't want the mercy rule because that's up to the opposing coach. At the end of the day, the mercy rule is just to make it sure it's not a big blowout. But for those guys, like the mercy rule is a courtesy thing. You know, it's not like, oh, let's get out of here, you know?
Do you have that mentality going back to Franklin 2 hours away? Do you have that on the
I'm not coaching, so yes, I want this game to be over. I'm just kidding. No. I want this game to be close. I want this to be a good ball game.
Right. Time called. Ball is turned over on downs, and Classical will take the ball. Just under half a minute left to go before the second quarter concludes. But we'll see if the Knights can do anything here with the limited time they have.
They're going to need to change the recipe or they're not going to have any opportunity to score here.
So there's Dickerson again. Rush on the left, Caden Dickerson.
That's likely going to bring us to halftime. Coach Dubs used up 2 out of 3 timeouts earlier in the first quarter.
I think they may have used all their timeouts there. We'll see if the Knights are going to run anything.
No, I think they're going to head for the end zone here.
And staying in the huddle, and it looks like they are going to take it. So 38-0 the score at halftime. Sacred Heart leads over the Classical Knights. We'll be back in 30 seconds for the halftime report. The Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Tennessee High School Football.com, Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising. Welcome into the broadcast booth for our halftime report. I'm Spencer Thompson. That's Isaiah Austin. 38-0 Sacred Heart leads over Franklin Classical at halftime on their homecoming night, and you couldn't ask for a better halftime for your 2018 homecoming football game, obviously.
Exactly.
So Sacred Heart, just everything going right for them thus far.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want from homecoming. You want a team that, of course, the other team putting up a good fight, but you want that scoreboard running up as much as you can. You want those guys and the fans to just be able to relax and not have goosebumps going up their legs and shivering and panting and heart beating. You just want relaxation, alumni to come back, enjoy themselves. That's the point of homecoming.
Now, obviously, the mercy rule will likely be enacted at the start of halftime, even though it is homecoming night. So Classical will have that to deal with. But if you're Coach Seth Witherington going into the halftime locker room or meeting, even though there are no locker rooms out here, but during the halftime meeting, what are you going to be telling your guys in that Classical huddle?
I could be completely wrong, and I probably am completely wrong, but we're going to go with this. I think that Samuel Hubbard was pulled from quarterback. I could be completely wrong, but they need to find a new recipe if that's the case. They have to find something that's going to work for them right now. They have 2 games left. Although this season has not gone how they planned, they have to figure something out that's going to work for them. And this half, with the running clock, can be used as sort of a scrimmage game or a game that they can experiment with a lot of things so that they can find their identity going forward, although they only have 2 seniors this year. So figure something out moving forward. They have to get something out of this game going home.
38-0 the score at halftime. The Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights lead the Franklin Classical School Knights in their 2018 homecoming game. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. They just crowned their homecoming king and queen on the field. We'll be back for coverage of the second half in about 10 minutes.
That's Jake Keel.
That's Jake Keel, homecoming king. Jake Keel. And we will be back in a few moments. Welcome back live to Jackson.
By Jacob Hayes.
Kickoff for the second half.
Tackle by number 9, Jake Wilson.
Jake Wilson on the tackle.
It'll be 1st and 10, Franklin Classical.
And Franklin Classical starting out here in the... And the clock's still running down. The mercy rule has been enacted here in the third quarter.
And it's going to be interesting that they keep up with the same schemes going into the second half.
Spencer Topset, Isaiah Austin on call here from Jackson, Tennessee at FMY Field. Proud to be here for the Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week. Here's a rush on the left side. That's Caden Dickerson pushing up to about the 20-yard line, maybe a first down. They'll spot the ball and see how it goes from there. Now, we look ahead to the schedule for these teams. Now, obviously, Classical, they're just playing for their first win on the season, getting one win. And they've got 2 South games left. They've got them against St. Andrews Suwannee. That's a 4 p.m. matinee. And then they play at Lancaster and then a bye week. So it's interesting. It's really interesting to see how that goes. They've got a bye week. Now, FCS has done this before where in the final week of the season or during the playoffs, they have organized at least one more game.
I don't think they're going to do it this year, especially if they can't get win 1 or 2 games this year.
And they may just cease football altogether.
13,
we'll see if they decide to do that. But Classical, if they want to get their first win, Suwannee would be the team to do it because Lancaster, that'd be a difficult one to get.
But then again, Suwannee is not a pushover team in any way, shape, or form. With Gabe Stevens in there at quarterback, he's got speed similar. He's going to be a similar player to them. Although Jalen Brown is a little bit bigger and stronger, Gabe Stevens has got the speed similar to Jalen Brown. So if they can't stop Jalen Brown in this, they're going to have a tough time with Gabe Stevens come time to play Suwannee.
Here's Dickerson. Pitch, toss on the left side, incomplete, intended for Austin. It was incomplete. And you look at the schedule for Sacred Heart, and again, all of us are rooting for them to be in the postseason. We're hoping they're playoff eligible. But regardless of if they are or not, their schedule is fairly tough because they've got FCS now. They've got a bye week next week, so they have a little bit of relief. But then they have their final North game at Bowling Green up in Kentucky.
Wow, that's going to be a good game.
Then they go to Lancaster. So they've got 2 tough games ahead of them, but Bowling Green is their last in-division game. That is going to be really impactful on the playoffs.
That could make the difference in playoffs or not if they do turn out to be eligible because Bowling Green is practically the team stopping them at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll get an update from James Shannon a little bit when he has his updates. But we look, of course, at it's a 3rd down and 4. But the schedule is difficult. Like, we look at how the teams are shaping. James, an official's timeout.
Looks like an injury on the field.
Looks like an injury timeout. They're asking for the clock to be stopped on the field. It is a Sacred Heart player down. But again, as I was saying, Isaiah, we have an idea. We believe that it's going to be We believe it's going to be We believe it's going to be the Webb School and Christian Community are hosting the playoffs. That's what we think is going to happen. Pending any upsets, that could happen. Because Christian Community, well, actually, if with Christian Community winning their game tonight against South Haven, that score hasn't gone final, but it would be a miracle for South Haven to make it back. But with Christian Community winning their game against South Haven, even if they take a loss, their number 1 seed, this basically locks it up.
Yeah, and although Christian Community's team from last year was looked at as the pinnacle of 8-man football, this team this year has more breathing room than they did last year. If they lose a ball game, they still got that first seed secured. And even with 2, they could secure that first seed. You never know what could happen. But, I mean, who do they play going forward?
Well, next week they host the Freedom Cowboys. They have a bye week, and then they host Lighthouse Christian School.
Okay.
So, basically, win this game tonight, they've solidified number 1 seed in the MTAC playoff.
Yeah, practically, yeah. And that game against Lighthouse, though, is going to be deciding whether or not Lighthouse seems like a team they want to play or not come playoff time.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see. Rush on the left side. Big run there for McCann on the left side.
Well, besides a couple fumbles, I feel like he's played a really good game. He's been practically their only contributor on offense and kick returns. Dickerson's played a strong game as well, but with Salstrom and now Sam Hubbard out for the rest of the night,
Now we look at Webb's schedule. They're looking like they're going to be the #1 seed in the South because they're unbeaten right now. However, they have 2 South games remaining. They host FCA, they have a bye week, and then they host St. Andrews Sewanee. FCA poised, if they somehow come back to win this Riverside game, they would at least lock the bowl slot. If they lose, then they're essentially out of the playoffs and bowl slots due to tiebreakers. But they, with Webb at least, they have to win against FCA to at least guarantee that they get that #1 seed in the South. And then they face against Sewanee, which that game, it doesn't have a huge determinatory or anything along those lines. But it's really interesting to see how the season comes down to the final few weeks to know what's going to happen with anybody.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how things pan out, especially in that North. The South, we get a little bit of idea how the playoffs are going to look, but in the North, the first seed is practically solidified, but anything past there is just such a question mark.
Now, for the #2 seed in the South, it's looking like it's going to be Lancaster. They had their win against St. Andrews Sewanee today. They have one more South game against FCS. So I believe if FCA loses and Riverside now if FCA loses, then Lancaster controls their own destiny. A win against Classical, they lock their playoff berth. But if FCA comes back and wins that game, there's still well, actually, you know, I think whether FCA wins or not, if FCA does win, they have one loss on the season. It would depend on Classical to pull the upset and beat Lancaster for FCA to get into that #2 slot because they only have one loss in the South. But
you can't rely on that if you're FCA, though. You can't even – it's hard. You can hope for it, but the stranger things have happened. But with this Classical team being beaten up so much, you can't rely on that. You need to control what you can control and let the pieces fall around you.
Yeah, the pieces will have to fall. As here's Dickerson, right side, incomplete pass. The clock's still running down for the mercy rule. Now, you look, that bowl slot, it's looking like if Riverside wins this game, they lock the bowl slot because they've already lost to Lancaster and they've already lost to Webb. So this is their final South game. They win this, they lock the bowl slot. That's guaranteed because they have the tiebreakers over the other teams. So Riverside looking to just get that final game and potentially host a bowl game.
That is huge for Riverside. Huge.
Now, we look at the North especially. Did you have anything else on that South thing?
Well, I just think I'm really happy for Riverside. Last year they had so much trouble, and it's an example of rebuilding a roster. That is how you should rebuild a team. And Riverside always putting out a good product. Every now and again they'll have a tough year, but putting out a good product this year.
This ball brought down at the 50-yard line.
Dickerson has no time to get that ball off. I mean, it's like flag football where they put the cone at the line of scrimmage, and when you say go, they're allowed to start rushing.
Yeah,
it's like ole.
Ole. Now you look at the North. We have no clue what's going on with that number 2
No, absolutely
seed.
not.
We're trying to figure it out.
We need a coin toss for a prediction.
Yes. Well, don't mention any more about coin tosses because we don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I'm zipping it.
But we're looking at the North. They're #2 seed. So South Haven again eliminated for postseason contention. So the Heat is waiting. They're in a waiting game. They have lost to Christian Community. They beat Bowling Green. I believe they lost to Lighthouse. Pretty sure I'd have to look back at the scores. I believe they lost to Lighthouse. And they beat Sacred Heart by 2, and they beat South Haven. So I believe they have 2 North losses. They're waiting for things to play out. There's no guarantee for them until other games domino effect in there. Lighthouse, they have tough North games because right now they're at Bowling Green in their game. They have a bye week. They host South Haven, and then they go to CCS. So Lighthouse, they can control their own destiny here, but it's a tough hill to climb.
Yeah, and Lighthouse is strong, but still trying to figure out their and just a drop on the play.
Incomplete pass intended. There is a flag. Incomplete pass intended for Will Walker.
Let's get a replay on that.
Likely an unsportsmanlike conduct. Let me see if we can get any replay on that one. I think I may have missed it right at the start of the play. That's awesome. So there's pass over there, left side incomplete. Looks like the shove at the end. That's what
I don't know. Dickerson saying he didn't mean to do it, but that is a penalty. Yeah, you got to call that. I mean, in the heat of the moment, stuff like that happens, but you got to be consistent as a referee. Doesn't matter if he means to do it or not. You have to blow the whistle in that situation. Good call by the ref.
Yeah, we'll get the
Personal foul, late hit.
so late hit called.
It'll be 1st and 10, Sacred Heart.
I don't think there was any bad blood either way. I just think that's a call that you have to make as a referee to be accountable and be consistent throughout the entirety of the game.
So that number 2 seed there again. James Shannon went over it last week on Extreme Talk about all the playoff clinching scenarios.
Recovered by Sacred Heart.
It's extremely tight, and at least what we looked at on the playoff scenarios. I know that James did mention that for Bowling Green, they are wanting Sacred. It would favor them if Sacred Heart does not have eligibility because they have a more likelihood to control their own destiny. Can't depend on that because you have to be able to control your own. But actually, pretty much all of the teams they'd benefit from Sacred Heart not being postseason eligible. But it's a really, really complex mess in the North because of that triangle that's happened with Sacred Heart beating Lighthouse, beating the Heat, and Heat beating Sacred Heart. So it's a giant mess up in the North for the playoffs.
Definitely. And, again, we have no idea what's going to happen. We can give our predictions, and we will continue to, except Spencer because he's neutral on everything. And that's why we love the show. That's why the show is doing so well.
Yeah, it's just because of my neutrality. It's not because of you having your opinions, not because of James. It's solely because of neutrality.
No, me and James go out and get cause trouble and stir stuff up and make opinions that are unfavorable, and then you come in, oh, it's okay, I'm going to clean it up. You know,
I'm the voice of reason.
You're a voice of reason. That's it. You're the voice of reason.
I'm the voice of reason, at least. But a option toss right side, incomplete. It was caught. Reception made under pressure. Let's get a replay on that one. My goodness, what a catch.
Man, that was heavily contested on that play.
Pass completed to number 9, Jake
So
Wilson.
they start the I formation, play action again, tosses it deep, catches it. Great tackle on the play, but I mean that coverage was swamping. But I mean, at some point, you're just going to give that up. But I mean, with a running clock here, they're just looking to build on this lead just a little bit more.
Even in coverage, managing to get that reception.
He just went straight up for that ball. Nothing the defender could do. That's just effort right there.
So 1st and 10 for Sacred Heart as the clock continues to run down. 45 seconds left in the third. We've got a continuous running clock. Well, I'll stop there.
It's kind of interesting to look at. So when FCS has fumbled this game, Sacred Heart has been the first one on the ball. But when Sacred Heart fumbles, Sacred Heart just gets the ball immediately. It's that head-up football, willing to jump on the floor or jump on the ground, get some bruises and scratches to go get that football. And it's just the pit bull mentality that this Sacred Heart team plays with and why they've been so successful this season.
Now, I know you're going to save some predictions for this show, but
I can give you some.
But with the playoff seedings, we would have CCS hosting Lancaster if the season were to end today. We'd have Christian Community hosting Lancaster, and I believe if the season ended today, James is probably going to correct me on this, but Webb would be hosting,
That's the end of the
I believe, the Tennessee Heat. Either the Heat or Sacred Heart, one of the two.
I think the Tennessee Heat is the team that could hang with them the most because they're one of those teams. Yes, on a given night they can't hang with Webb, in my opinion, but they're just such a gritty bunch with Micah DeGrood, with Preston Sloan, with the Hargrove. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Hargrove Bros. They're just a really, really strong and gritty team, and they're a team on any given night that can just ramp it up and hang with the best. They hung with CCS until that third quarter a few weeks ago. They had a lead until the end of the third quarter where CCS just ran away with it. But if the Heat can dictate pace throughout an entire football game, there's not a team in this league that can hang with them.
End of the third quarter, 12 minutes left as the Sacred Heart Knights look to wrap it up here at homecoming. The Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week is brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Tennessee Highschoolfootball.com, Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising.
wins between FCA and Riverside again, so it would be Riverside Bowling Green. No, sorry, Riverside Heat, because the Heat beat Sacred Heart. So it'd be Riverside Heat in the bowl game.
So it'd be so James. Thank you for giving us those here on air. So it'd be Riverside Heat in the bowl game, and if the season were to end today, so it'd be Riverside Heat in the bowl game. Webb would be hosting Lighthouse, and Christian Community would be hosting Lancaster if the season were to end today. So those would be the standings if the season ended today.
And as we know from the past, the season does not end today.
It ends the very last week of the season, just like it did last year with that whole coin toss scenario, which they have since obliged.
That was a weird false start.
False start on the offense.
See, I was right. It's supposed to be a dead ball penalty.
So false start offense, and they did call it a dead ball penalty on that.
As they should.
So they continue to run down the clock with about 10:50 left to go in the fourth quarter. The clock will continue to run down, and we'll get shots of the coaches as we usually do in just a few moments. So classical.
That's your cue, Spencer. That was your cue.
Classical calls a timeout. I'm pulling up the preview here to make sure I get their records right on the season. Let's see. Let's go with the shot first of Coach Judd Powers. We'll go with Sacred Heart's coach. That's Judd Powers in his first season. His record overall on the season so far: 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. I have to check the score.
I'll check.
Did they win against Riverside last week?
Yes, they dominated Riverside.
So 3-2. They're looking to go 4-2 tonight. Is looking very likely they'll go 4-2 on their season. Judd Powers changing the mentality of the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights.
Spencer, I just went to use the bathroom, and on my way back, I found Cinderella's slipper in Jackson, Tennessee, baby.
I can't tell if you're being serious with me or not.
Oh, I'm just joking with you.
Here's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to mention that. Next thing you know, we get off air, and James goes, "What are you talking about with Cinderella's slipper?"
Because it's a Cinderella story.
Yes. Yeah, the Cinderella story. The slipper is here in Jackson, not being worn.
That is, for lack of a better term, cringy.
All right. They stopped the clock there. And
encroachment on the defense.
Encroachment defense.
So now they're just back to where they started before that timeout.
Penalty is encroachment, Franklin Classical.
So after, we'll get a shot of Coach Witherington in just a few moments. We'll wait until after this play is done, and we'll get you, as we call him, Dubs, Coach Dubs of Franklin Classical.
I mean, he's pretty far away, but we really want to show off his beauty from here.
We'll get it in a second after this play. It's a rush by Jalen Brown, right side. Gets just outside the 5-yard line, about to the 7. So first down and goal, looking for where they're going to spot the ball here. Just waiting for a word from the officials.
It's hard to see the spot from here. It looks like they're going to give it to him. Yep, they're going to give it to him.
First down and goal for Sacred Heart.
Hard to see the judge over there, the weird angle.
All right, let's go ahead and get Dubs.
He's real far away.
Coach Seth Witherington of Franklin Classical. He's in his second season since he's come back to 8-man football. He's currently at a record of 4-9. So unfortunately going to head to 4-10 after this game. Looking to go to 5-10 next week against the St. Andrews Suwannee Mountain Lions.
Just to not disrespect Coach Dubs, we got to remember the championships that he won.
no, I'm saying that since he's come back from
we need to get his whole career stats by next week.
Yes, indeed. He does have a lot of history from previous seasons in 8-man football before he took his long break. There's Hugley. Rush up the middle, 3rd down and goal on the, looks like about the 15-yard line.
And Spencer, as much as we probably wanted to see a good game tonight, it seems like we're probably going to be headed out of here in about 9 minutes and 10 seconds of running clock.
Yep, about that is what it'll take for us to get out of here. So we'll see what scores we got here at the moment. We'll hand it to James Shannon if he's available to give us another scoring update.
And James, I haven't been cheating. I want to hear the scores.
Hey, boys, 4th quarter's winding down in Cheatham County. They're playing the game at Cheatham County Middle School, by the way. Christian Community 50, South Haven 16. Here in the 4th quarter, Lighthouse Christian leads 48-34. The Bowling Green just scored. 4th quarter, Riverside Christian 30, Franklin Christian 14.
Thank you, James. A touchdown just scored by Sacred Heart. We'll get that replay in just a moment.
And we certainly expected a better score there and at FCA, a closer game, but unfortunately the fans there at Homecoming are witnessing a 16-point deficit right now.
Well, the fans at Homecoming are happy. The Sacred Heart ones are happy, but the...
No, I'm talking about Riverside.
Oh, yeah.
Riverside and FCA, yeah.
Riverside and FCA.
I wouldn't accidentally call my alma mater FCA, Spencer.
That's right. No, I didn't think that. I thought you were talking about the fans here at Homecoming were disappointed.
Yeah, the Knights, FCS, FCA, Homecoming. I know it's all confusing.
Of course. So the clock still winding down after that touchdown. We have a delay of game on the offense. They'll move it back 5 yards.
You don't see that on 2-point conversions quite often.
So as James said, the game winding down in Christian Community's home stadium. With that win, Christian Community locks the #1 seed in the north, and they will host the #2 seed in the south, whether that be Lancaster, and in mathematical possibilities right now, whether that is Lancaster, Webb, or potentially, well, actually, I don't think there's a scenario where Franklin Christian can be #2 seed, but whether that's Lancaster or Webb, at this point, we are not sure. But Christian Community locks that #1 seed. Webb can lock it next week with a win against Franklin Christian Academy. And FCA's playoff hopes, if that score goes final in Riverside, their playoff and bowl hopes will be officially eliminated.
Well, what if no, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. I was going to say if FCS somehow pulls the upset over, I mean, just hypothetically.
If you're talking about FCS over,
well, couldn't Riverside slip into that second spot?
No, because they have lost to Lancaster and Webb. So they have, Lancaster and Webb hold the tiebreakers over them here. So here, you look at the replay again here on this touchdown pass up the middle here, Isaiah. You look at that touchdown pass. Just right up the middle, another open opportunity there. The Sacred Heart Knights.
You know, and that's a play. I first saw it playing against what's his name, St. Andrew Swanee's coach, Hargis. Hargis is one of the pioneers for that play. Act like you're going to run it, and then just throw it up the middle to a tight end.
Exactly.
It works.
Rush on the right side. Carson McCann again. He's just been dominant in returns all throughout the night. That's been one of the positive things we've seen about the Franklin Classical Knights today is their kickoff returns and Carson McCann.
It's kind of difficult for him. I'm sure he's having a hard time with this because he's giving them excellent field position every single time they kick the ball off. But the issue is that the time of possession and the inability to march the ball down the field for the Knights has kept them in a stagnant position that is probably bothering McCann because he's working his tail off on those kickoffs.
So again, as James mentioned earlier in the there's a scoring update from
mask on the play.
There's a scoring update from FCA. I won't say anything quite yet about that because I'll leave that to James to give us an update on.
Oop, I cheated.
Isaiah cheated on that
face
one.
mask on the defense.
So face mask on the defense.
On Sacred Heart.
And so we'll get James in just a few moments for another scoring update there. So it might be closer than we thought in one of the games with that scoring update we just saw. Potentially. Or not, exactly.
We'll leave you in
mystery.
Yeah.
We'll get James in just a few moments to get us updates.
Now the Knights have enough time to run a few plays here before this ball game's over, so they're going to be looking to score at the 24-yard line.
Looking to try and get some score here.
They need something to bring from this game, as I said at halftime. Something.
Here's Dickerson up the middle. Weaving through, Caden Dickerson finally gets brought down at the 9-yard line for 1st and goal.
Caden Dickerson with the
He's shifty.
Indeed.
Yeah, the lines had trouble all game, but he found a hole. I mean, he just zigzagged. Again, he zigzagged through those holes. And that's something that you see from Dickerson. A lot of times it doesn't work for small backs, especially when hitting the middle hole. But a multiple-year gymnast, he's really, really flexible and can get in and out of holes. He kind of reminds me of, what's his name? Dion Lewis a little bit. Dion Lewis, 5'8" running back on a good day and can hit those holes with consistency.
Dickerson. Toss on the right side, incomplete pass intended for Austin, just goes in between his hands to the ground.
He just doesn't have enough time to get that ball off, period.
All right, James, what do you got for us on scoring updates?
Hey, boys, right now I'm trying to figure out, I think it was a safety. Okay, so Bowling Green just got a safety on Lighthouse. Lighthouse recovered a fumble in the end zone, so it's 48-36, 10 minutes to go in the game. And in Franklin, give me just a second. In Franklin, Daniel Holcomb, 45-yard run. It's Riverside Christian 30, Franklin Christian 22, and I believe the CCS South Haven game has wrapped up. I have not gotten confirmation of that, but I think it's over. For all intents and purposes, it's over. And let me add something else. Earlier, just a second ago, you were talking about Coach Witherington's record. So from 2009 to 2013, he was 36-15. But that was after 2 years that they struggled in 12 and 13. From 2009 to 2011, when they won 3 straight Impact championships, Witherington was 31-2 with a completely undefeated season in 2011.
31-2, so his overall record
in 3 years.
In 3 years, 31-2. That is impressive. So 31-2, that translates to today's record to 35-12. Still an overall positive record for Coach Seth Witherington.
Yeah, and he's one of the most I guess you would say decorated coaches in the MTAC.
Absolutely.
He's I can tell you firsthand he was a fantastic coach for me. Really taught me a lot about football, and not only football, but being a man and growing up and entering the real world and things like that. So I really, really love Coach Witherington, and I would recommend it as a coach to anybody in any walk of life.
So the clock winding down here in the final seconds.
Stopped by the Knights. It'll be a turnover.
And I'm going to head down to the field.
Yep, Isaiah's heading down to the field for the post-game on Instagram Live. Just make sure to look on Instagram for when that game goes final. So the clock winding down with the final few seconds here. Final few 50 seconds on the clock remaining in the game. And again, we'll be live on Instagram for the post game. We'll get an interview with Coach Judd Powers as Judd Powers heads into a bye week before a big divisional game against the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors. So we'll get an interview with him in just a few moments. Clock winding down, 25 seconds left. The Sacred Heart pitches it behind him in the end zone. Rushes forward, stopped at about the 3-yard line. And that'll wrap it up here. Sacred Heart gets the shutout. There is a flag on the play, so I believe they stopped the clock. There's a flag. And the clock does wind down. We're waiting for the officials to give their word on the flag. Button essentials. Personal foul on both sides. The penalty's offset, and it's 4th down, and I believe they said the game is over. 38-0, the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights shut out the Franklin Classical School Knights at homecoming. Thank you for tuning into this week's Extreme Game of the Week, the Kingdom.com Extreme Game of the Week, brought to you by Kingdom.com, the ministry technology provider, Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way, TennesseeHighSchoolFootball.com, Estate and Financial Strategies Incorporated, and Ward Marketing and Advertising. We'll see you on Instagram Live for the post game in just a few moments.